Yeah, that'd be great.
Can I offer you something to drink, Mr. Ferguson? We have some water here.
I'm fine, thank you.
Mr. Ferguson, are you able to verify your personal and contact information with our system?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. Okay.
118 North of 30th Street.
Okay, good. As long as you've got all that. And have you spoken with any other attorney about the matter?
I have not.
Okay. Let me just explain that everything that we discussed today is confidential.
Good.
Okay. Do you have any questions about that?
No, I mean, just,
Okay.
I've read enough to know this is just
You have-
between us here. It's not going to go any further.
Well, great, yeah, and so then you also know that the more forthcoming you are with us, the better we will be able to assist you as well, so. Okay.
Also, Mr. Ferguson, just to point out early on, you're going to see us taking some notes today. So in case you see our heads down or see us writing, know that we're definitely listening to you. Feel free to keep talking. We just want to make sure we get it all down as best as we can.
Okay.
Also, too, we have a pad and a pen here for you in case you'd like to take some notes as well. So
good.
that might be helpful. Just to give you a brief little roadmap as well of what we're going to do today. We're going to obviously find out why you're here. We're going to ask a few questions. At the end of those questions, I'm just going to do a brief summary to make sure I have the facts down correctly, and also to make sure that we both understand it as you presented it to us and how you view your situation that you brought to us today. And at the very end, we'll analyze what you shared with us and also determine how we can help you. So without further ado, please tell us what brings you in today, Mr. Ferguson, and how can we help you?
Well, you need to understand that I'm not nobody in this community. Ferguson Trucking has been around a long time. I've got a couple dozen employees. I won Chamber of Commerce Business of the Year a couple of years ago. We have a great reputation. We've got a beautiful wife, 3 kids. We're active in the community. This is an important place to us. We've been on everything from the zoo board to We Friends, a child advocacy organization. And I try to take care of my employees. And I've had a lot of them a long time. Some of them have been with me since we started this 20 years ago. But one of those employees was Susan Fox. And Susan had been started off as my administrative assistant and eventually became just like my right-hand man. Everything I knew, she knew. She had access to everything. I trusted her implicitly. And about 3 months ago, Susan comes into my office, as she does, just kind of breezes in and out. And I had some images up on the computer screen. And I mean, as you know, you live here, this is a conservative area. And don't understand. I mean, I love kids. I work for kids. But these are art photos. I mean, in places in Europe, you can buy books of this. But these are beautiful artistic photos of young girls, primarily by art photographers. They're in galleries. And I had this photo up. Somebody had sent me a link to it, and I was just looking at it. She comes in, and I'm so startled. I don't respond immediately. And she sees it. I tried to explain to her. It's just somebody had sent me a link. I was checking out the link. I had it up, and I'm not very good on computers, clearly. And I tried to fumble to get rid of it. She saw it. Well, I thought that was the end of it, but clearly I was wrong. About a month ago, we finished our audit. We do a very thorough external audit every year. And come to find out, Susan's been embezzling from us. You know the stuff. She makes fake invoices, collects the money, and never shows up, or she didn't think. But to the tune of $30,000. Pretty clumsy for that matter. I'm just devastated. This has been my most trusted employee. I mean, she's got keys. I mean, she's kept our kids. And I've kept her on because she's good, and partly because she's really the only sole breadwinner for the family. Got a drunk and abusive husband and some kids. I don't want to embarrass her. I don't want her. The only thing happened to her, so I'd say, look, the proof is just obvious here, and she acknowledges it. So tell you what, we'll just keep this quiet. I'm going to let you go. I'll give you 20 minutes to clear out your desk. I'm not going to take this to the media. I'm not going to take this to the police. We've been friends. I know your husband put you up to this. I'll see if I can't make do without you. I'm just sorry it ended this way, but I told you to leave that so-and-so a long time ago. I thought I was doing the right thing. Well, that's why I'm here. About a month ago, that was 3 months ago, I hear from her. And she says that she wants $10,000 or she'll go public that I'm looking at these photos. I mean, you can imagine in this community, they don't understand that this is art in New York. There's no pornography, there's no, kids doing dirty things, it's just art photos. And again, I know she told it to her husband, and he's the one behind this. And I just do it. I send you the $10,000. I don't know what else to do. But a few days ago, I hear from her again. And
Something, Mr. Ferguson, please feel comfortable to continue. Again, what we discuss here is confidential.
well, I need you to understand this is not kiddie porn. This is not stuff like that. I mean, there are groups of people that exchange this. There's books, there's collectors. You can go. If I've been in Europe, I could go see beautiful paintings and photographs like this. I need you to understand. It's just not that way.
Excuse me, what was the name of the photographer?
David. This particular one, David Westhoff, and you can order books by him. Westhoff.
And that's particularly the photo in question was by David Westhoff.
Well, I guess that's just it. I kept some of my favorites there at the office because computers are kind of public, and I had a kind of a secret stash of it. I'd go home and I wouldn't do it on my computer, I wouldn't take it there. But I know it was from her, even though it's unsigned, but this package arrives and it's copies of my personal email. She's hacked in my computer. And copies of the photos. But then my stash, that's I thought I'd moved. And she says now, I've now only got just a few days, or she wants $50,000.
She already paid the initial
Yes.
$10,000 that she
Yeah.
asked for.
Or she's going to go to the press, she'll go to the police, and she'll get to see me It's humiliated when my family loses business and my kids get thrown out the street if I don't pay. Now, she broke into my computer. She's already an embezzler. She's sending me this stuff by the mail. She's threatening me. I mean, there's got to be something. You guys are the biggest firm in town. There's something we can do here. Surely. I mean, this is not pornography, right?
Well, I think we have to assess a few more facts before we can answer a question like that. And in all fairness, I think we just want to make sure we give you the most accurate information that we can. And I recognize, again, this is very difficult for you. Get you some water, again, just to relax you a little bit. Okay.
Not to be too conclusory, but clearly it does, extortion has been happening, what you're saying.
You know, a lot of times when I see on TV, that's what it looks like to me.
Right,
but
right.
Can she?
Well, she's threatening the press to inform the press and the police about the photos. Okay, but you're claiming that there's nothing illegal about the photos?
Well, I mean, I don't know the laws in this state, but I know in other countries, and I know from some of my email friends, there's places in New York you can go see this.
And it sounds like your initial concerns are for your business, the reputation of it, the reputation of your family, and it sounds like you also have concerns about Susan as well, despite everything that's happened.
Yeah, I mean, the money's not, I got the money, okay, the business is doing great, 50,000, but what about next week? What about the week after that, or next year? When's it going to stop? That the guys, blowing money on drugs, probably. Yeah. I could pay the money if it was only the money.
I'd like to ask a bit more about your family, so that you have a wife and 3 kids. What is your wife's name?
Mary.
Mary. And your kids, how old are they?
10, 8, and 6.
What are your kids' names?
Daniel, Rachel, and Van with a V.
It's a fun name.
For Van Morrison.
And I know that you said that your business has been very active in the community, so that public image that Ferguson Trucking has is also very important.
Sure. Little League teams, the works.
And I also wanted to find out, you said 1 month ago, initially after an audit, was when Susan came to you?
Right.
How many months ago? I should make sure I had to make sure.
Right, the audit was 3 months ago.
3 months ago, when she came to you after the audit, and that's when you...
Yeah, a month ago, so 2 months later. The audit was 3 months ago, 2 months later, a month ago, she comes to me with the first demand.
The $10,000,
Right.
the initial request.
And I pay it.
I guess we need to probably find out more about the photos and your concern about it all. I'm trying to understand. There's I remember from the news there was one controversial artist named Mapplethorpe.
Yeah.
Is it something along those lines?
No, these are much more artistic. These are real soft focus, wispy, shot through kind of gauzy material. There's flowers and vases, and the girls are on nice couches and beds and in front of the mirror, combing their hair or painting their toes. These are not graphic genitalia showing, if that's what you're asking.
Okay. Do you have these pictures on display, like in your house or anything like that? No. Is this something that's a private?
Yes, it's just something I was interested in. I mean, you're the only ones that know about this besides my priest.
Right.
And about how old would you guess the young ladies are that are in these pictures that you have?
Junior high, high school.
Junior high school.
Young high school.
Your concern is how is in several areas, how the community would view this if it was known, how the press would view it,
Yeah.
and then how the police would view it. You're concerned about that?
I guess it's all tied into one, yeah.
Okay. Well, what, and I haven't seen the photos, what makes you concerned that the police would have concerns about the photos?
I don't know, like I said, you're here, you know, this place is full of very conservative people. Right? They just, I mean, they don't even like R-rated movies. They don't, they get upset when the drugstore down, in the department store downtown puts lingerie in the window. Why, you know, this is, they just,
But so then is there, like, the photos are, on the one hand, I'm hearing you say that they're innocent photos, and
certainly it seems to me.
it seems to you, you think there's a non-innocent connotation that others would see?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a dirty old man, I guess, sure, or want to look for something dirty under rocks. There are people who do that everywhere. I mean, there are people I'm sure like to like to make the people who've done well in this town look bad. You know.
Do you know offhand some of the sites that you would find these photos, or?
The photographer has a site, and there's some other photographers, and then there's a gallery in Amsterdam, and there's one in Paris that have sites. There are a number of books, not all of them are easily available in this country, so you can get a copy and make a copy for friends and send it around kind of the circle of people.
And this circle of friends, how did you meet the circle of friends?
I guess I just stumbled on a reference to the photographer one day and saw some of his work and thought it was interesting, because originally out of curiosity, and then I saw that there was a group that was kind of fans or friends of his, West Office.
I think that you said that technology is something that you're still developing
Yeah.
and using. Did you meet this group
No.
on the internet, or how did you stumble upon them?
That way, through the friends or fans. Right after Susan's first visit, I went and killed all of the visited sites off my computers.
You tried to erase the history?
Yeah, I did the history.
And so, but your viewpoint on it is that this is artwork, that it's not anything that's wrong, but you feel that the community may have a different viewpoint
Sure.
on this.
I've traveled more. I'm not, some of these people never leave the city limits.
Did you ever order or print out any actual copies of these?
Yeah, I did. That was the stash that
It was a physical stash.
I moved after that first visit, and then sometime between then and when she contacted me again a few days ago, I wanted just to make sure it was everything gone. So apparently she still had a key, broke in, stole this and made copies, and said, that's what she said, when we sent this to your wife or to the community.
And so with the printed photos that you had taken away, to sort of move away from the business side, because I know that's one concern, how do you think your wife, Mary, and your children, how do you think they would handle it if this did go public, if Susan didn't make good of her threat?
No, that's why I'm here, to make sure that doesn't happen.
Your expectations from us on this matter, what are you expecting from exactly?
I don't know. Perfect world. Set up some kind of plan where that we fight, I guess, I don't know, fight fire with fire, to let her know that she's going to do this sort of thing, that I'm not beyond going ahead and turning this material over to the police, that she embezzled $30,000 from me. That if it's for somebody that's helped her and her family for so long, that she would come back and try to damage my life and my family, I have no problem seeing her in jail. Just whatever it takes. This cannot just go any further.
Do you go back further than with her family?
I'm sorry?
Do you go back further with her family than her being your employee? You said that you've helped her family for so long.
Well, I mean, she has a lot of off days that are not part of her. I've let her take for sick kids and stuff that I don't dock her for, and I've loaned her money against payroll with her because her husband gambled or drunk it away, and I know she's in the past had always been paying back. And like lavish, particularly for this area, Christmas bonuses, sure.
Probably two more difficult questions, Mr. Ferguson. I just wanted to prepare in advance. I wanted to go back to one because I know that I asked about marrying your family. You said that obviously one of your expectations is that we can help, this to never come to light, so it will be a concern of theirs. But in your opinion, how long have you been married to Mary now? 18 years. Do you think that she would support you if this did come out and become public? What do you think her viewpoint would be?
Jesus, I hope so.
So you're not quite sure. And the second difficult question is, and I do apologize, but we want to make sure we have everything to help you as best as
I earned it, bring it on.
So don't beat yourself up.
They're too late. We've been doing that for weeks.
The second question would be, was there ever anything romantic between you and Susan?
No,
Anything romantic?
never. I never touched one of the kids either. I never thought about one of the kids. I never thought about any other kids. This was just like looking at a nude statue in Paris.
If your children were unfortunately ever questioned about what you just mentioned, had they ever been touched, how do you feel that the children might respond to that?
No, absolutely not. Never been touched.
What is your sense about the children in the photographs as models?
I'm sure paid well, chosen for their beauty. In cultures where this is not looked at as some kind of pervert thing, that's
For instance, what cultures?
I'm sorry?
For instance, what cultures would they tend to be?
Well, French.
Another question I have is, if you were to decide to sell Ferguson Trucking, hypothetically, I'm not suggesting that, I'm just asking.
Okay.
Would you feel that you'd be financially secure enough and okay enough not being a business owner anymore to do that? What do you think on some of that?
Yeah. If we could find a buyer in this tough economy, it's worth a lot. Good reputation, good team, we produce, we're on time. I keep my trucks in great order, take care of my people. Yeah, if there was somebody looking to buy, we would do real well. It's just not about the money. That's why the 50,000 wasn't so much that this 50. What next month it could be 100.
Right.
What does it end?
Well, what I'd just like to do now is, again, just recap some of what we heard to make sure we have it down correctly, and also to make sure that we understand how you view things. I think you give us a good perspective. While I'm doing this, if I say anything that's incorrect and you need to adjust a little, don't hesitate to interrupt me, just to make sure we have this done correctly. So again, Ferguson Trucking has been around for 20 years and very active in the community and giving and the things that the company does, as well as yourself. And Susan came on 6 years ago.
Maybe more than that. I think she's been around about 10 years.
10 years ago.
And how many employees do you have at Ferguson?
We have 24 drivers and maybe another 10 auxiliary staff, so 35.
So 35.
35, 40 maybe max with the Yeah, includes maintenance, 40 people.
And after an audit 3 months ago, you determined that Susan had been embezzling money by creating phone invoices and receiving the money from that to about $30,000.
That's right.
For embezzlement. And when you confronted her about it, you asked her to leave. And
20 minutes, 30 minutes to clean out her desk.
Yeah, she
I was kind, I was telling her why, yeah.
And you had concerns about her husband, who you said was an alcoholic.
What she told me.
And since then, she came back a few months ago, a few days ago, excuse me.
No, she came back a month ago the first time for the 10,000.
For the 10,000, a few days ago, she came back again. She sent you copies of your secret stats, which is now popped up missing an extra 50,000.
Just remind me, how did you pay the 10,000?
I wired her the money.
Oh, you wired it with Western Union or something?
I'm sorry?
With Western Union or
Yep.
something? Okay, do you have a receipt or copy for that?
Yeah.
Maybe I have a record of
I
it.
do have it somewhere, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's not lying around, obviously, but yeah.
And the false invoices, you have, did you keep those, the false invoices that Susan made?
Yeah, we still count it as everything.
Okay, that's good.
And do you have any type of security or surveillance technology that may have been able to verify that Susan did break in and or when? How?
We have a security guard, but clearly it didn't work this time, did it? We haven't,
And what's the security guard's name? I'm sorry.
I didn't mention, it's Garrick, G-E-R-I-K, Security Incorporated. They just do the front gate during the day, and then they come in after hours and patrol the grounds.
Okay.
Do you know if Susan was in any way affiliated or friendly with anyone at Garrick Security or the guard on duty that evening?
To my knowledge.
Okay, so you've come to us looking for advice
Yeah.
or
Let's get me out of this.
Get you out of it. Yeah, we need to offer, we may be able to offer some options. I don't know that we can offer any easy solution at this time. We need to do a bit more research and fact-finding as well. Just addressing issues one at a time. If you have all of this proof that Susan did embezzle from you, it would definitely be in your interest to report that. You probably should report that anyways in the first place.
I know, a lot of stuff I should have done.
Right. But as far as hindsight, I mean, it's not too late.
It's not the statute of limitations or whatever.
Well, how long ago was this?
Well, I mean, she'd been doing it for a year apparently, but the audit showed it 3 months ago.
Yeah, I need to be sure. We need to look and be sure of that. But I wouldn't think the statute of limitations had expired.
Well, I mean, to tell you what, and just doing an analysis of the facts that we've heard today, some things that we see may be possible claims or that we may be able to help you with. The first one is blackmail. What Susan is doing is illegal.
Yes, indeed.
And she can serve up to a year in jail under our jurisdiction statutes, including also having to pay fines, possibly even the money that...
50,000 didn't kick it up into some kind of felony or something?
Yeah, it hasn't kicked it up, but we want to double check the jurisdiction because it can change depending on whether you're doing it federal or different states. But we'll definitely verify that and tell you if it has moved to a different tier of blackmail before we meet the next time. Something to address the photos, the art that you're looking at, that is a concern of yours. Without having seen the photos, it's hard for us to determine the facts that we have here today, but
Or research the websites, which we can do. I'll be honest that I'm concerned about your concerns, that you're so concerned about the photos. You mentioned talking to your priest, and that most people probably wouldn't like or understand the photos. So if you're sort of on this path of confessional, like to your priest or pastor, and now to us, Miss Susan is threatening you. She's extorting you based on these photos. So this is something that I would recommend. An option that I would recommend, I'm not telling you to do this, is to sort of come clean on your own about it. If there is truly nothing to hide, at least to your wife.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's always an option. If you sort of take away the power of someone exposing you, then they really don't have that leverage to blackmail you anymore. But certainly with Mary, you may want to start there with her, because I know she's a concern. And, you may want to sit down with her, possibly even the counselor, and talk about how you want to talk to the kids in case this does accidentally become public. Not accidentally, but if Susan blows the whistle or something like that, kind of way it comes out, probably something preemptive may be helpful there.
That's good.
Which I don't mean to preach at you too morally, but I just feel like that a good litmus test for this type of situation, especially since you have children, is how would you feel if your own children were in the photos that you're looking at? And so maybe to think about that.
Yeah.
And that's a moral question that those looking at what's happened may ask themselves, and that's where that upset may come. We'll take a look at our jurisdiction and see. Obviously, many of us know that improperly touching children is against the law.
Yeah.
But different jurisdictions view looking at photos of them in different ways, and the legislation is trying to catch up on how it's viewed when you look at them online. So we'll do some more research on that and have an answer for you by the time we meet next time as well. But I definitely feel like we can help you with, at this point, with the embezzlement, which is a concern of yours. As far as the reputation of the business, again, Shannon's already given you a great suggestion. Coming clean at first is something to do. Also, talking to some people who've been supportive of you and your business and the community, to see how they can sort of help if this does come public. It could also be helpful to help the business. It could also be helpful to help your reputation and that of your family as well, to give you those options. And we're going to start to sort of take a little bit of the burden, or a lot of the burden off of you immediately, even before retained. We're just going to do some research on where the law stands on those photos, what could happen, the embezzlement, and we'll also start researching the statutes on blackmail in our jurisdiction and her breaking and entering into the business, etc. But that's how we feel we can definitely answer your concerns about address them all, and we can be beneficial to take some of the questions and concerns you brought to us and to get to work on that. And if retained, we can go even further in defending you against possible claims.
We commend you on this good first step of coming to speak with us today.
So what we'd like to do now, Mr. Ferguson, is we have a retainer agreement here. Got a nice little packet for you. The retainer agreement contains information on how you could retain us to represent you in the matters that you presented to us today. Also including this retainer agreement is your receipt for the consultation fee you already paid today, located here. Our fee structure and how we're paid is also located here as well. Read over this carefully. Feel free to talk to anyone else about it if you'd like. If you have questions, don't hesitate to call us. But once you decide to retain us and you sign this agreement, we represent you on this matter that you brought to us. In addition to that, in this very same packet is our business card. You can call the office even when we're not here after business, more than 24 hours a day, in that the entry service can call us at home to get us in contact with you. And please, make sure that somebody who's an emergency contact at least knows that you have an attorney. You don't have to tell them what it's about, but just in case they need to get in contact with us and we couldn't reach you, they can do so.
Okay. Good idea.
And I guess we didn't address it because it's just so automatic to us, but we naturally we can't help you or advocate any continued payments to Susan because she's breaking the law and by feeding into that, like we as attorneys we can't assist anyone in breaking law, basically. So we'll try to find a better solution, which is what you said you want. Do you have any other concerns or expectations before we schedule our next meeting?
No, I guess we just kind of have to move quickly because she's already clearly escalating.
Well, we would ask, we're going to schedule a meeting then for tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Can you come tomorrow?
Yes.
Because it does sound like we need to move rather expeditiously on this. We would strongly suggest that if not, even if it's not us, you need to retain somebody right away because this Waco sounds imminent.
Yeah.
Our legal assistant is going to follow up later today, just to remind you of the meeting for tomorrow, and also remind you to bring a few things with you that we feel might be helpful for tomorrow's meeting.
Okay.
Your computer, even though you feel like you've deleted things, bring that in. Also, the invoices that you found that Susan was making that weren't accurate, and the receipt for the wire that you sent, and she'll send that in email for you. Okay, Mr. Ferguson?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you retain us. We can be very helpful with you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in. And we'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Sounds like we've got a lot there. I decided the board for us. We'll put this down into two categories. First, priorities, things we can get on right away. On the second side, I'll just do future actions, things that we would primarily work on right after we're retained or after we're retained. Priorities, it sounds like.
Well, priorities is I'm just concerned that just the way he was acting about these photos, that there's something more sinister at work here than just
Seeing the photos.
our photos. Maybe it's true. So maybe it is just our photos, and he's just thinks that people would just make fun and think it was weird. But yeah, I'm worried that there's something worse to it. So we can check out these websites and this artist.
So I have a legal assistant follow up with him.
Yes.
And then email ask him to bring in the photos because I believe he still has some. He said he deleted the website to see what he's talking about. It sounds like in the future, for him against Susan, there may be an embezzlement action. That she was taking money, she was in a position, she had authority to take it, but not to
Right.
steal.
How do you feel about that? I mean, should it be reported to the police?
Yes, I think
Okay.
we need to represent him on that. And also the blackmail claim he described, she's blackmailing him, asking for money or property in exchange for something
Right.
that he won't disclose to others,
Right.
probably upon somebody's fear.
So-
She's definitely got that locked in.
So these would be criminal prosecutions versus Susan?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Breaking and entering, she broke into the office.
Right.
I'd also like to maybe take a look at the contract he has with the security company to see if they have in their contract that they're liable for her ability to get into the building without them even noticing anything.
Right.
He may be able to seek some kind of identification from them because of that. What else do you see?
Well, with that future actions, I mean, basically that's us accompanying him to fill out police reports.
Or in help with the reports?
Yeah.
I would even say that,
To sort of stand by his side. I mean, he's very worried and, just very concerned. It just seems like he felt very, very alone and misunderstood.
just counsel him on that.
Yeah.
Also, it sounds like he has the monetary ability. I'd like to see if maybe we can
Yeah.
get a PR firm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's our sort of our holistic approach to law,
Yeah.
and maybe refer some people to help him in case this blows up.
Yeah, we need to find out a little more too. I mean, he has 35 employees, but he was making it sound like, oh, money's no problem. I mean, 35 employees isn't that many employees for.
So that's a priority. Let's look into his business a little
Yeah,
and just see if what he's describing of it is true.
right.
I also, we can't help with this directly because of the conflict, but it's possible that Mary may divorce him look at maybe recommending an attorney that may help them who don't know.
Right.
And I kind of got, I don't know, a bad taste in my mouth, for lack of a better phrase, but I think they're going to check his kids. And I'm crossing my fingers he hasn't touched them, but I would like to be preemptive or to reactive in case some kind of doctor's report says otherwise.
Okay. Okay.
Some molestation charge in the future, maybe. Do we see anything else? So we'll meet with them tomorrow at 4. We'll get together here at 9.
Yeah, sure.
And then,
But of course, I laughed earlier because you mentioned conflicts, and that just reminds me of conflicts.
check on conflicts.
Checking for conflicts, yeah.
Make sure we don't have any clients, or any interference, or nothing related to season, his company, or anyone else. I tell you what, I'll take the top 2, you take the bottom 2, is that cool?
Okay, yeah.
And we generally break up the future stuff. I guess I'll take the top 4, bottom 3. And also for the next meeting, I've mentioned it, but just in case things become sticky, I'd also like to bear in mind mentioning that another option may be to sell a business and relocate and start somewhere else over again. It's just local news that covers this. I'll put that on here, look at selling the business. It seems applicable to it. And I'll look into what you might expect to do that as an option. This will be here tomorrow morning at 9.
Right here. Hope we didn't keep you in the waiting room too long? No. Oh, good. We know waiting rooms are never fun places to be. Before we get started, is there anything I can get you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, great. To get started, a little bit about us. Your information came to Peter and I because we work in the white collar criminal defense group, which is part of the litigation department here across the state. In fact, I'm the chairman of that group. Our group is advised and represented individuals as well as some of the country's leading corporations in a broad range of criminal matters. Have you been to see a lawyer?
No.
Well, good. I know sometimes coming to a lawyer for the first time can be a little bit nervous, so we want to make sure that you feel relaxed. So anything you need, just let us know.
Okay.
So we have 2 of us here today because we feel that 2 heads are better than 1. One person is asking questions, the other person is thinking about the full extent of the law, how can be applied to your company, facts and situation.
All right, counsel, apply. You, Officer Louder.
Yes, thank you. And it also helps our clients that whenever they need to contact us, there's always one of us available.
Now, as you may be aware, you paid $100 for this no obligation consultation. And what that means is if for whatever reason, after this meeting, you decide not to go along with our services, you don't have to. To give you a little bit of an overview as to what's going to happen today, we're going to continue this meeting for about another 30 minutes or so, and I think we'll get a good grasp of the issues by the end of that time. We're going to be asking you questions to clarify details, and we're going to be taking notes to make sure we're on the same page. As Todd mentioned, we provided you with notepads, so if you find yourself having difficulty at any time, explaining what it is you're trying to explain to us, feel free to map it out, draw it out, whatever is easier. And if you have any questions, if you don't understand anything at any time, anything that we discuss, please don't hesitate to interrupt us and stop us. One other thing we'd also like to discuss with you is the issue of confidentiality. And we take confidentiality very serious, meaning that anything you say to us and anything we discuss will remain private and confidential. Nothing will ever be disclosed to anyone outside the walls of this firm, to any third parties, and so long as you're speaking to either of us or any of our legal staff, everything will remain private.
Right, even if I don't use you for attorneys.
Absolutely.
Most definitely.
And the reason for this is sometimes clients come in and they're a bit hesitant to talk about information that may be personal to them.
Sure.
But it's very important that we obtain all the information that you think may be relevant, even if you think it may be not relevant, because the more you help us, the more we're able to help you.
Okay.
And the primary reason for this is because that's the way that we're able to provide you with effective representation. The information you provide us are the tools for us to be able to do that. And if we don't have the facts, if we don't have the information, and we can't You know, even if it's even if it's some piece of information or a fact that you think may put you in a bad light or you find embarrassing,
Yeah.
it's very important.
I wouldn't have been here. I understand.
Now, based on anything we've said so far, do you have any questions,
No.
any concerns right off the bat? Well, in speaking with the secretary that you spoke with in setting this appointment up, one of the things that particularly concerns us is the fact that you were blackmailed
Yes.
by your former employee, Susan Fox.
Mhm.
And I think that would be a good place to sort of start if you don't mind.
Okay. I run a good business. I take care of my people. This just hit me out of the blue. Ferguson Trucking is well known in this part of the country. 40 employees, and Susan been with me, had been with me 10 years or so. She'd been started off as my administrative assistant. Got to the point where she was just kind of my right-hand man. She had all the keys I have, all the codes I have, authorization to do checks, whatever. Trusted her that much.
So she signed checks and everything else?
Yes, she could do anything I could do. Okay, and did great. She was coming from a tough situation at home, and wanted to reward people who worked that hard, and I did. She was well compensated. When she had problems, I let her go home if she needed to, didn't dock her time, bonuses if she needed an advance on her salary because of her SOB husband was drinking or gambling away. Well, then, that's the kind of thing a boss does to keep good employees. Well, so imagine, about 3 months ago, we do our annual audit. We have an outside auditor, a good one, and comes in, damned if she hadn't embezzled $30,000 from us. She's writing false invoices and then pocketing the money. My accountant comes to me with this, and it's her name all over everything. It's just there's no way you could excuse it. It was clearly what this was. And again, I understand, the damn husband was probably putting a lot of pressure on her, the kids. And I like Susan, respect her, I did. So, I did something stupid. Said, look, you got 20 minutes, clear out your desk. No need to take this to the police, but,
Just leave it.
Just leave it as call. I don't want to embarrass you. I know you're under pressure, and thought that was the end of it.
Right. It's been tough.
Well, before that, now, you need to understand, my wife and I are something in this community. We are not, you've probably seen our names, we're on the zoo board, we're on We Friends, the child advocacy group. We sponsor Little League teams. We are here and
Give back to the community.
as everyone you can. I grew up here, this is my place.
Excellent.
And I remember how it happened, but some time ago I came across a website, and it had some pictures of very artful pictures. Now, I mean, basically, this is not pornography, this is not sex, this is not genitalia, this is art photos of young girls, junior high, school. There's books about this you can buy, and not locally, I'm sure, but you can. And Amazon, there's the other countries, they got galleries. There's a well-known photographer. He's made a career at this, and I came across one, and it was very beautiful. It was flowers and a beautiful silk French couch. And young girls artfully photographed, and kind of a gauzy thing, and they're just real interesting. I know they're paid models and stuff, and I know, as you know, in this community that would,
Not be looked upon
yes, yeah, and, you know, looking back, it was stupid, but that was all it was. Looked at them. And,
on your computer.
on the computer, only at work. And every now and then, I got to know some friends, made some contacts who are also fans of David Hamilton and his work, and Westhoff and some of the other guys. And, they would send me a photo, and if I had a good one, I'd send it again. Same kind of photo, all looking at the same stuff. There's art galleries in Paris where you can go look at these kind of paintings and photos. And Susan, I'm sure this was innocent, walked in. Well, I had one of those photos up. And I'm not real good with computers, and I tried to get it off, and I could see she was horrified. And I tried to explain to her, somebody had sent me a link, and I looked at it, but she stormed out before I could say anything, and we neither mentioned it, and I thought that was the end of it.
Okay.
Well, you know where this is going.
Yes, I think.
So, that was 3 months ago when we had the audit. And about a month ago, I get a call from her saying that she's going to take that information public if I don't give her $10,000. And that she will ruin me and the press and police and my kids and well,
Not the publicity you need.
yeah, and it's not the money. I got money. You know, we're doing fine. But so I did something stupid. I wired her the money.
You wired it.
It's
Okay.
in her. And I thought that was the end of it, but it's never the end of it, is it? It's never, ever the end of
Black
it.
and cases.
So a few days ago, I get an envelope in the mail, and it's got copies of my emails, copies of the emails that had photos, and copies of some of the photos that I printed out and kind of kept as a private stash at the office to look at. And clearly from her, didn't have a return address, and then I get this call from her saying, you know, do you want your wife to see this? It's $50,000 now.
She's up for the States.
Yes. And she broke into my office. She broke into my computer. And when I went and looked at the stash, which I had moved, after the first time, it was gone. She had stolen my property. She had mailed that stuff, copies of it, back to me. And now she threatens to ruin me and the community and money. And I'd send it to 50 if that's all it was.
Right.
But it's already escalating. All right. You guys are the big shots in town. What do I got to do? Help me here.
Okay. Well, help us understand some more of the situation.
Okay.
You say these photos are in photo galleries and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Why then would you be concerned if she's got them?
Well, I mean, they're the age of the girls.
What ages are we talking about?
Junior high.
13, 14?
Yeah, probably.
How many photos were?
Well, you know, the kind of the stash that I had in the office, maybe a dozen, and then the emails, maybe a couple dozen more.
So there's about 24 or so total we're talking about.
36 total, like 24 on the computer, 12, maybe, something like that. Anyway.
Now, these portraits, these photos of these girls,
Mhm.
these were already posted online. They were there. Is that right?
Well, there were links to David Hamilton's website, and you could get small versions to kind of an inducement to buy his books. They work at a low resolution. So I'm assuming, because I never bought one of the books, some of the other guys would get the book and scan it, and it's in a higher quality, just among traders, like trading baseball cards, I guess.
Okay.
And so you see these pictures available on the internet, and they're available for sale to buy?
No. His books for sale, just collectors who would get one, like Grateful Dead guys get bootlegs, we just share.
Okay. And so you had been exchanging these and then sort of sending them around?
Yeah, and I don't even know where some of these people are. Some of them have funny names, I guess they're in Europe.
You said that some of the artists were David Hamilton, and you mentioned Westhoff.
D.A. Westhoff.
Is there any other ones?
Those are two big guys.
The two big ones. These websites, were they paid websites? Subscriptions?
No.
They're free access websites?
Their publicity to sell his books and his prints.
Okay.
So they're a little smaller, low quality there. You can see them, but
Yes.
they're already kind of fuzzy and gauzy. Anyhow, so when you get them that small, low res, they're not, you can't really
Help us understand maybe one of the pictures that you think Susan feels it's most incriminating to you. Help us understand what that looks like.
Okay.
You mentioned the flowers on a couch.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be young girls with long hair shot like in the early morning, and there'd be a young girl in her dresser combing her hair.
Innocent.
Yeah, there's no sexual paraphernalia, there's no...
No nudity?
Oh, they're all nude.
They are nude.
They are nude, they're art photos. It's like paintings or, yeah.
Sorry, I thought you said they weren't nuding first. Okay.
So I'm a little confused. Please help me understand for a moment. These are artful, artsy photos. Are they paintings? Are they pictures that were taken that are
These are
framed?
pictures that David Hamilton and Westhoff took, paid female young models. I'm sure their parents are right off the camera because there's nothing, anything untold, but they would be painting their toenails, or they would be on a couch playing with a pan figure. I don't know, just beautiful young girls, Scandinavian, French, whatever.
And their parents would be sitting on the side.
I'm guessing, I would.
You don't know for sure.
No, but
So these girls weren't drawn up. They were actually
Yeah,
live
these-
girls that were,
yes.
the pictures were taken.
but like the ones you'd see in a museum.
Right, okay. Now,
Like which museum?
Well, like, the big one in Paris, the Louvre, there'd be naked women there. That's what people painted in the old days.
And nothing here in the...
Well, I don't know. I'm sure, if there's some in New York or, sure. I mean, this is very Puritan country and stuff, and there's creeps out there, there's pedophiles out there. I'm sure we've reacted to the far extreme.
what sort of, in exchange for these pictures and then sharing these pictures among a group of people, what did you get in exchange for sharing these pictures?
Just photos, like I said,
Just
just walking back, because they're harder to get over here, I guess, than they are in France.
And what type of exposure are we looking at in terms of these pictures? So, is it just amongst the friends? Is it possible these pictures got out somewhere, even further? I know they're available on the internet, but in terms of where these pictures are posted, where they're hung up, who can see them, who can view them?
I don't know, just, I guess they're all by these photographers, and those photographers like them, people who buy the books,
Right.
do appreciate it.
Where are the books sold? If you wanted to go buy a book, where would you go buy it?
Website is website.
Yes.
I said you could go to Amazon. I've never checked.
Barnes and Noble type?
Well, probably not here. I mean,
Right,
not
Right,
but
but you got to
yeah,
have someplace.
yeah, a big bookstore, our museum bookstore, our bookstore in New York or Boston. or
You
something.
probably have to search to find them, and find a local store.
Well, lower, sure.
Are these girls individually, or there's any group photos or anything like that?
Oh, every now and then there'll be a girl combing another girl's hair, but there's no sexual kissing or contact between them. Okay.
They're still photos.
They're all still photos, no videos.
Okay.
Now, in looking at this, and as from a whole sort of, what are your expectations? What are your goals? What are you looking to get out of this?
I want to stop. I want to stop the threats and me agonizing over this. I mean, the first thing I did after she saw that, I went to I'm not very good with computers. You can draw down a little pull down thing in your computer and it'll kill out all of your visited sites.
You deleted the history, that
Clear
type of
the
thing,
history.
yeah, clear the history, yeah.
Yeah, I did that. I would like for it to stop. initially didn't want her to go to jail. But now we have blackmail and extortion and threats and breaking and entering. I mean, you guys are good. What can we do to keep me out of the press and have this stop, whatever it takes?
Well, I think one of the options, I'm not sure this, just as one of the options would be just to say, go ahead and publish these photos. It seems to me that that has you a little stressed.
I mean, I got a daughter that age. And that's why I'm looking back, it's stupid, but I don't know, her friends, her parents' friends or something.
Right.
If we lived in a bigger city, it might be different.
And do you think the worry might be maybe pedophilia or anything?
Yeah, I mean, people say anything. They want to drag down a successful businessman.
Of course, I mean, that's the goal of the press, always.
Well, some press. Just talk about Fox News, yeah, that's what they like to do.
Right. Okay.
Before we go any further, you've provided us with a lot of facts, and you appear to be very genuine about it and very cooperative. And before we go any further, I'd like to recap what you've told me so far, just to make sure we're on the same page, because I feel like I might be missing a few minor details here. Please interrupt me, and if I'm misinterpreting something, please correct me. So you've operated this business, Ferguson Trucking, for quite some time now. You've always been fond of your employees. You've taken care of them. You've had great relationships. You have about 40 employees.
Mm-hmm.
One of your employees, which you strongly considered your right-hand man, was Susan Fox. And you guys have worked well together. She's done a lot for you. You've done a lot for her when she's been in need, and vice versa. And you've always sort of done anything that you can do to help her out in certain areas, and she returned the favor as well. She was a good employee.
Yes, she was.
At one point, sometime later, an auditor came to your business, and that auditor discovered that $30,000 had been invested by Susan Fox. And that sort of really caught you by surprise, because you had thought of her to be a different type of person, an employee you can trust, someone you can rely on. And at some
I entrusted enough to give the code to get into my computer.
Right. An employee who you sort of gave all sorts of access that you were entitled to and that you had access to as well.
That's right.
Your office, your computer, safes, whatever it was that was available. Now, in terms of your position and your status within the community, you and your wife have a great reputation. You're a businessman. Your wife are part of charitable organizations, donations. You're all over the community, and you try to help out as much as you can and everything give back. And you also have a daughter who is about.
I have a son and a daughter.
Oh, you have a son and a daughter.
I have a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, and 6-year-old.
Okay.
Okay.
At one point, Susan had sort of walked in and almost decided, as you put it in your terms, blackmail you in terms of asking for $10,000.
Not initially, she walked in and saw it, and it was sometime later that after the house, she was fired that she did the blackmail.
Right. She came in.
Yes.
She noticed, she viewed the pictures
Right.
that you had opened. Not too quick with the computer, weren't able to put it away, and so she caught that glimpse. Sometime later, she decides to come back, and she knows about these pictures.
Yes.
She knows that she's witnessed you looking at these pictures. And so, she, because of her embezzling and so forth, you respectfully, as much as you could, you asked her to leave. And so as a result of that conflict and what had been going on there, she decided to come back and say, you give me $10,000, and I promise not to release to the public that you've been viewing these pictures. And prior to that time, because of these pictures, you found this website. These beautiful young girls whose pictures were being taken, whose pictures were available, and you began to exchange these pictures amongst your friends, amongst other individuals who were also interested in these pictures.
That's right.
You received nothing in return.
That's right.
However, it was only a sort of back and forth with the pictures. Nothing else was involved. At one point, obviously, which was the whole thing with this blackmail started, your wife viewed you, though. Your wife saw you.
No, my wife never saw it. My wife knows nothing about this. I'm sorry, I'm not that impression.
Okay, because I was a little, your wife never saw these
No,
pictures?
I only do this at work.
Okay.
And the
No one else
staff
knows
knows
what's
what
happened to you and maybe-
Mike Priest, yeah.
Okay.
Your priest, yeah.
All right. So it was Susan who walked in and was horrified.
Yes,
by this.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
All right, no, that's all right. No. The $10,000 wasn't the end of it.
No.
She came back. She mailed you the pictures and the emails with respect to this, and she says now it's $50,000. And now you're afraid this is going to just keep going.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop. Your other concern with respect to that is sort of getting rid of these threats, just sort of agonizing and constantly dealing with the stress of what is the press going to think?
Yeah.
What's going to occur to your reputation? Is your family going to be okay? And now we're in a position where we need to see sort of where your reputation is going to stand from here on out.
Right.
What we can do for you to help you maintain that reputation, and then at the same time get rid of the threats.
Yes.
Do you think that covers it? Is there anything we've missed? Is there any details you'd like to clarify?
Keep in mind, the more we know, the better we can help.
Sure. If you just ask anything, I'm going to help.
Well, if there's anything that we might have not thought of asking, that you could help us. It is confidentiality, nothing's going on outside this room, and the more we know, the better we can help.
It's the primary goal here is, you have to understand, is effective representation. And we cannot effectively represent you if we don't know everything that there is to know. And of course, it's difficult in an initial consultation to think of all the details.
Yeah.
We're only humans. It's just unrealistic to have everything sort of in your head, in your memory, and just spit it all out. It just doesn't work that way. We understand it. But to the best of your knowledge, help us give you a little idea of what we can do for you, sir.
As far as I know. Okay.
You can see how this is stressing. Please, if there's anything else, the more we know.
Well, the emails are still on my computer. Okay. I don't know. I'd like to, clear the hard drive, but I don't know how.
But you said you copy those files over and save them, try moving them off.
No, they're just sitting there.
Okay. So they're just on your hard drive, and your concern is clearing that hard drive.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to kill them all. I don't want to do this again.
You want to cease this exchange of photos permanently?
Yeah,
Just get rid of
just
it.
kill it all. But I'm afraid I'd kill out. If I did the hard drive, I'd kill out.
Get rid of the rest of your business, right?
It's my business computer.
Right. Okay.
Now I don't trust anybody.
Right.
By the way, just to clarify, what is your title within Ferguson? Are you
I'm the owner and president.
You are the owner and president, okay. And, in terms of, I guess if we ever were to come across potentially clearing the hard drive, cleaning up the hard drive, that sort of thing, do you have certain policies implemented within your company that does not allow you to do that? I mean, I guess you make it the rules, but
No, I don't know anything. I just afraid if I cleared the hard drive, I'd clear something I needed.
Okay, so maybe one of the things that would be helpful is to either get someone or possibly even yourself to just put all that stuff into a file.
Somebody to do it, and I can trust.
Right,
now.
if you can, someone who's, quick with the computer,
Yeah.
that you can trust, and sort of maybe collect all that into one area so that we can sort of zero in on where it's at.
So how much do you think is on your computer? Have you've been saving these pictures? Do you put them in a certain folder? Where do you put them? I mean, if you've been transferring it back and forth and sharing them with
Yeah, I just have a little folder, I call it 1988 tax returns, in case you're like Snoopy. And just get them and dump them on there, but I don't always remember to kill them off the email.
Okay. So that's how Susan found them.
Yeah, the email ones.
And do you think the reason that Susan suspected that there was anything on the computer was because she
She
came in
saw
and
it.
saw you at that one particular moment?
And I'm sure she was just got in one night and started fishing, see what she could find.
Okay.
Now,
I'd like to-
Sure, no, I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I'd like to ask a couple of questions, some information about Susan. You had mentioned that her husband needed some advance and SOB husband.
Mhm.
Is that any factor in this situation?
I mean, I used to think it was, and I'm hoping I'm not such a bad judge of character, that this is all, that she, after she got fired, or maybe before, told him what she had seen. And he, what she's told me and what I've inferred from things she's needed in the past, that was just no good. And
What
that,
type of things has she needed in the past?
well, advances.
Just advancement. How much have you advanced?
Well, whatever she's needed. She's always paid me back.
Such as?
1,000 here, 1,000 there.
Okay.
He sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Apparently drinks a lot of the income she takes home. They got a couple kids. My dad, I got kids that age. he's just probably, at least that's what I'm hoping, he's just in her ear all the time. Man, here's this rich guy who fired you, now let's get our piece. You working long hours.
Let me take you back to the moment that you said she broke in. How did you, when you said, what does that mean? How did she break in? Was it after hours? Did she break a lock? Did she have a key?
Yeah, she has keys to everything. She came in.
This was after you let her go.
Mhm.
She still had keys.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, I have to ask her to get out her desk and turn out the one she had, but I didn't check to see if she had a duplicate somewhere.
So how do you know she broke in? If she used keys, how do you know she broke in?
You mean there's a way to tap the
I'm
computer
just
from a
wondering, is there
distance?
something, did she break anything? Did she leave anything behind? I mean,
No, I just don't know. Nobody else can get in my computer but her.
and you're making this assumption because she got those files and she mailed them to you.
Yeah.
That's how she got them, was because she broke in.
Yeah, and she had to be in she had to be in my office to get my little stash of files to copy them, to steal them. Nobody else could do that. Nobody else has a key. Okay.
If you look at the picture from the whole, it sort of can almost connect the dots. I mean, these are things we would need to verify.
Yeah,
We don't
I
really-
can't prove it, but nobody else has a key.
Right. I mean, but this would be sort of part
Sure.
of investigating something
Yeah,
like
okay.
this.
Yeah,
I
let's
mean,
do this.
getting really
Right.
down and dirty with what's going on within the office, who's working there, who has access to what, who's very familiar with the computer, a hacker type individual.
Yeah.
This was something that we think we need to investigate. Now, when I look at your concerns and your expectations here, if you were to prioritize them, how would you do that? In terms of the threats, the agonizing, getting rid of the blackmailer, your reputation, how would you prioritize it?
Just to make sure none of this ever becomes a public record. That she got angry and sent copies to the police and wanted to say I was a pervert and insisted they press charges, and it becomes public record and it's reported, and what would do to my family. We can move if I gotta move, but I don't want my wife and kids to know that this.
Right. And plus your business and your reputation in the community. Not be good things to get out.
Well, I think one of the things that sort of jumps out at me when I take a look at this is your reputation is very important. But when I look at it in respect to getting rid of a blackmailer, and in cases where we've dealt with blackmailers, they really never go away.
Mhm.
And so my focus, and I think Todd would agree with me, our focus would be to sort of make sure that we get her out of the picture. Because in terms of the exposure of the files, the pictures, in terms of where it goes, in terms of the safety of your children, everything revolves around Susan.
Right.
One of the things that I do want to mention, though, is that we understand, as you spoke to her secretary, and as you made clear many times here today, is that you want to keep this confidential,
Yeah.
and you want to keep this private. Victims often, and certainly that you are the victim in this case, and we want to do the best we can to help you. Victims often in criminal matters come, and these matters often are attempted to, we attempt to resolve them quietly, and we attempt to resolve them privately. But you have to understand that prosecutors, if they understand that a public wrong has occurred, if they see that a white-collar crime such as blackmail has occurred, then it will not stop them from going ahead and prosecuting. And it seems to us that in order for the prosecution here to be successful in proving blackmail, part of that is using the evidence that she's using these pictures to sort of force you to give her money. And so it inevitably is something that will be consistent with their ability to prove their case. Just so you understand.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Just so you understand. One of the things we could do, though, for you is we can speak to the FBI. We can speak to the prosecutors. And if you decide to retain us, we can have the prosecutors, in terms of their preparation, steps they need to take, all the gyrations they need to go through, we can make sure that they go through us specifically. We don't want any outside contact to go through you. We don't want any outside contact, meaning any agents, prosecutors going to your business. And that way we can make it as less suspicious as possible in terms of who finds out in the public.
Great.
And so I think if we can talk to the FBI about it, I think that might be able to help clear a couple of those things. Again, we can't promise you. I don't want to give you any false hopes that we're going to be able to keep this confidential, because at the end of the day, if the prosecutors decide to go ahead with this case and decide to, prosecute, this will be part of their case, inevitably. If there's anything you wanted
Well,
to.
maybe we could work directly with Susan. There's something we can negotiate out with her, discuss things with her. That's just some option I just want to throw out there.
The other thing, if the FBI, if investigators, have you been contacted by any investigators, by any law enforcement officials?
No.
If law enforcement officials have not been investigated, there's a good chance that they haven't gotten in contact with you as using you as a vehicle to get to Susan. They're probably not aware of this yet. And so I think, even now that I think about it, I'd like to back up a little more. I think, as Todd mentioned, one of the things that would be beneficial is to actually sit down with the blackmailer, sit down with Susan, and talk to her. If you decide to retain us, it wouldn't be you sitting there, okay? Because we understand the sort of conflict you have with her now. And it would be very difficult to resolve anything if you sat in a room with Susan right now. But potentially, us and her can sit down
Okay.
and
That
sort
sounds good.
of talk about this and
Right.
see what it is that she's really concerned about. Why does she need this money so bad?
First, I'd say, Ms. Ferguson, when's the last time that you looked at any of these photos or received any of these emails?
I may have received them, but I haven't opened any since then. Probably a week or more.
I'd advise you to stop opening it.
Okay.
Maybe cancel your email address,
Okay.
change your email address. The more you can distance yourself from that activity is going to help us help you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay?
One of the things, if potentially in the long run we had decided to sit down with Susan, given what she had done, and we understand it's very difficult, perhaps, as you mentioned, with her husband and the difficulty she's been having, maybe this is something where she did not intentionally want to do any wrong to you. I mean, this is maybe something of a life crisis for her, which caused her to do this, and maybe she's fully regretting this. If we were to sit down with her, and perhaps, or her husband, and perhaps maybe be able to set something up where she would completely stop doing this, remind her that you have no intention of any wrong towards her, that you have no sort of bad feelings toward her, and possibly maybe getting her job back in this respect. Would that be something that you would even consider?
I don't know that I could ever trust her again at the same level, but yeah, I mean, if it would mean stopping this bleeding and this stopping me, the fact that I'm not sleeping, I'll give her some make-work job, sure.
There are other possibilities like that we can consider. Yeah.
I think that would be...
We need to brainstorm those and really think about what you brought to us today.
So what do we have that would induce her to do any of this?
Well, I mean, of course, without a doubt, she understands that what she's doing is wrong. I mean, one of the things we would have to explain to her is she is in some dangerous, she's floating on dangerous grounds right now with respect to her blackmail. I mean, this is clearly blackmail. There's no doubt about it.
Do you have a copy of the letter still that she sent you?
Oh, yeah, I got everything. I got the CPA stuff, I got her letters, I got the copies of the photos she sent, everything.
And the manner, I think, in which we would approach her would not be sort of, you're in trouble, you got to stop what you're doing, because I think we would know where with that. But if we sat down with her, explained to her, like, you both have an advantage in this situation, you both can work it out, you both have been friends, acquaintances, co-workers who trusted one another for an extended period of time. Let's put that together again. Let's make that happen again. And I think it would take more than one sit down with her. But I think eventually, I haven't, I don't know the details of her relationship with her husband, but I have a feeling that her relationship with her husband and that sort of thing, I think this is what led her to do it, and I think it would be important for us to sit down with her. And if you decide to retain us, I think we would be, Todd and I would have to talk about it, but I think that was something we would consider doing as well.
Makes sense.
Good.
If you do decide to retain us, we do charge for our services.
I understand.
It's $200 an hour, as well as a $2,000
I pay lawyers to do all my business stuff, I understand.
And you've not reviewed this with any other lawyers?
No, you're my first.
Would you like to go ahead and retain us? Would you like us to get conversation started with Ms. Fox, or do you need a little bit of time?
Sort of investigation in our own.
Right. We would advise you that the time is of the essence here. And if you decide not to go with us, you have to find some representation to sort of,
I'd advise you not paying her anymore because the payments are not going to stop. So it's something to think about. You know, like Peter said, time is of the essence. What we'd like to do is, as a result of today's meeting, give you this consultation summary. This pretty much reviews everything that we talked about today and some of the important documents that we need you to round up in case that you would decide that you'd like for us to represent you. So identify any additional facts or things that we may not have covered today. Maintain confidentiality to the greatest extent possible. That's very important. Yeah, we understand that. And preserve your reputation. And I think the most important fact is let us see some of those pictures. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with here. Maybe your worry is more than what it needs to be, but we can't make that determination without actually seeing it. But we need to see those.
and also, it appears you sort of want to think about for a moment whether you want to retain us. What I would advise you is that we have a copy of the legal services agreement as well as a release form, release of information form, which indicates that we would be representing you and that we'd be able to talk to various individuals who you have a relationship with and sort of being able to gather information.
Yeah, I understand.
If you don't mind, and if you would prefer, you can, maybe step outside for a few minutes, review this, and think about it.
Yeah.
Because we've just talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I understand.
So,
Well, what's the best way to contact you?
You can reach me right at my office, and I'll give you my card with my home.
All right, great. Thank you.
and otherwise, we'll see you maybe in about 20 minutes or so, is it? Or however much time you need right now.
Yeah, I'm a detail guy. I need to think about it and look this stuff over.
Sure. Why don't you take the night? Tomorrow.
Okay, that'd be better.
Be here.
You don't mind coming in on Sunday to
No,
talk about
just
this? We'd be
do that.
willing to come in and
Tuesday, Saturday. How about Monday, 10 o'clock? That sound fine?
And if I hear from her before then, we may need to talk soon.
Yes.
Well, here's my card.
If you get in touch with her, please let us know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's
All
my
right.
card as well, and thank you very much for coming in. Let me give you these forms as well.
Safe drive home. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Stay strong.
I think we have a lot of stuff to go over here. Holy moly. Those
Lot of
pictures.
stuff quickly, yep.
Yeah, pictures. We got to see those pictures. I mean, if he paid her the money right away, he's got stuff that I think it's more than his just worry.
But the problem is we can't do anything right now.
No.
We can't.
Not
We
until
have to
he's
wait until
retained.
he decides.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of, sort of maybe talking to the FBI, not pointing him out, but wondering if they're even investigating this, but most importantly, sitting down with her, Susan. But we can't do anything until he retains us.
Yeah, I think the main investigating, the things we look into is her husband.
Right.
Yep. And the group that he's joined.
Right.
The email addresses he's had, some of those pictures. That's really going to determine his culpability and what he's got going here.
Right.
How vulnerable he is and what kind of leverage he has on it.
Right.
He said broke in, but yet wasn't able to explain
We have
how
to
she-
clarify whether it was her. We have to clarify, what's in the emails, sort of, there's a lot of assumptions here.
Yeah.
And the fact is that what he's told us may be true, but it's certainly not everything.
And he did mention that he'd been to his priest. I
Right.
thought that was an interesting comment that he
Right.
mentioned.
But he definitely seemed overwhelmed, and I think maybe over the weekend and over tomorrow he'll be able to sit down.
Yeah, and this David Hamilton and DA Westhoff.
Right.
I mean, a lot of things we need to look into. So why don't we meet tomorrow?
Just talk about it, just
Yeah,
brainstorm.
let's just talk about brainstorming. So when we do meet with him at 10 o'clock on Monday.
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being able to come in on a Saturday. We're glad we could meet with you. We know you're a business owner, and when you are a business owner, time is money.
That is it.
So we appreciate you making the sacrifice to be here.
When we start out with clients, a lot of times we find there's two things on their minds. One thing is confidentiality. They want to make sure that what they say is safe. The other thing is fees. And from our secretary that we charge and bill out at a rate of $200 an hour per attorney that works on your case. And confidentiality is something where you can feel safe about what you say in here. Everything you say will be kept between us. And so we encourage you to be open and honest. And that's important because for us, power comes from information. And And so we need accurate and complete information in order to give you the best options that you have. And along those lines, at the end, we'll give you a package of information about us so that you can be informed and have all the information you need to make an informed decision about whether or not you want us to represent you. Okay?
That's good.
Do you have any questions for us before we get started?
No.
Okay, well, what we want to do here, we know our time is limited. We have about half an hour, and we want to talk about what brought you here.
Okay.
After we talk about that, we want to work together to see what we can do. We want to know what your goals are, why you came to us, what you hope we can do for you, and then we want to lay out those options and then make a decision on what to do going forward.
Okay.
Okay. So that brings us to the question: what happened?
Okay. You may know Ferguson Trucking. It's a large regional. We have about 40 employees. My wife and I have been in this community for 20-something years. You go to the zoo, you go to the symphony, you see our name. We're on boards. My wife's real active in the We Friends, which is a child advocacy group. So, kids, got a good reputation in this town. I was Chamber of Commerce Business of the Year a couple years ago. Nobody. This was important enough for me to bring me here to the biggest firm in town. There's a lot at stake here. I've had this administrative assistant, Susan Fox, who's been with me 10 years or more. And she's great. Worked up from just secretary to administrative assistant to my right-hand man. I mean, anything I do, she does. There's no secrets from Susan.
Right.
She has keys to the offices, she has computer codes. She can sign my name if necessary. She's great. Works way too much, but a killer employee. And I'm trying to promote and protect that. She's well compensated. Got some problems at home, not of her doing. She's alluded to it and spoken occasionally of her deadbeat husband, kids. She's needed an advance every now and then on her salary. Small potatoes, sure. A loan every now and then, but she's always promptly paid back. She's worked hours I've worked, which is way too many. Right? Just nothing. Okay. About 4 or 5 months ago, I'm on my computer, and I've got a picture of her. Now, before we go further, we understand about this. This is not pornography. This is not, I understand I got kids this age. I got on the board of this organization. There's these photographers who take art photos. They're beautiful young girls. They're naked, but they're not sexual. They're not exploitative. They're not showing genitalia. There's no kissing. But they are, these things are in galleries in Europe. There's several books by well-known photographers. They're real gauzy and pretty with the curtains and the flowers and a girl brushing her hair in the morning sun kind of photo. And I know these are paid models and their parents are probably standing right off camera. No big deal in France, no big deal in New York. This community, that in the hands of a little mad-minded person could be something else. Okay? Susan comes in, as she always is, just kind of blustering in with all of the work and sees it. And I try to explain to her, this just had to happen. Just as a link, I was just looking at it just as she walked in. She's horrified. She's got kids that age, junior high girls kind of thing. Turns and walks out. I'm just not really good with computers, so I never kill it fast enough. And nothing's ever said. But 3 months ago, we do our annual audit. We have an outside auditor. It's not one of these Enron or things. Right. And it comes up that Susan has embezzled $30,000 from me. She sets up fake invoices, keeps the money. And it's all there, her name, all over the receipts. the money drafted, we found the count, and counted, laid it all out. And I'm devastated. It's not the money. I mean, she'd asked for it, I'd give it to her.
Sure.
So, with the account up there and following proper procedure, I call her in, say, this is what happened. You've been a good friend. I don't want to embarrass you or your family. I'm sure this has to do with that creepy husband of yours. Probably gambling, drinking debts, or drug debts, who knows? You have 20 minutes. Clean out your office, and that'll be the end of it. I'm not going to take this to the police. I'm not going to embarrass you. You've got enough tough enough life. You know, that's what a guy does. Well, I thought that was the end of it. That was 3 months ago. A month ago, I get a call from Susan saying, I know what you've been looking at. I know the pictures you've seen, and I know what this community would think about it. They thought Mr. High and Mighty Ferguson is looking at child porn, even though you and I know it ain't child porn. And I panic. I wire her the money. You know, I just got the money. And you know where this goes. A few days ago, she called. I received a unmarked envelope, and in it are copies of my emails with the other collectors who collect the material, where I've seen the photos. And there was some of my favorite photos that I'd kept in what I thought was a secret place in my office. Same kinds of photos. Didn't buy any of these. These are like Grateful Dead bootlegs. We just trade. These guys have books you can buy. It's not like I just know. I know where we live. I know what people would think. I never acted on it. Never touched a kid. Never would. I'd kill somebody that touched my kid or another kid. There were copies of them. She wanted, you know, a couple of days later after I get the envelope, I get a call from her saying, I want $50,000. Or your wife's the next person to see them, then the newspaper, and then the police. And at that point, I'm out of options. I'm not sleeping as it is. I don't know where else to go. You guys are the big hotshot firm in town. You tell me what's next.
Well, we want you to know that you came to the right place. And up front, we also want to let you know that we recognize this is a sensitive issue.
Yeah, boy.
We recognize that there are a lot of emotions attached to this. And we not only want to protect your reputation and protect you as a person, but we want to protect the community from having to go through something like this.
Yeah.
We want to do what's best. And we also don't want you to think that we're here to judge you, that we are going to condemn you for anything. We want you to know that we're here to support you.
Okay, good.
Okay, so now I got some more questions before we can really tell you some of the options that we have. First of all, we want to give you some advice. Two things of advice. One, don't talk to anybody about it.
You don't know that my priest. You're the only people I've talked to.
Okay. And so nobody else knows about this?
Not my wife. Not nobody.
Okay. The second thing is stop any type of communication with these other collectors.
Okay. I quit about a week ago, even opening the emails.
Okay. And don't look at any more of the pictures?
Quit that too.
Okay. So those are the two kind of fundamental pieces of
Sure.
advice that we'll give you at this point. Now we got to get into a little bit more. You said there was a lot at stake. And I see that there's a lot at stake with your business. There's a lot at stake with your personal life. Is there anything else that you didn't mention that you think is...
I mean, the money's not a problem. I got the money.
Okay.
But what's next month?
Right.
At some point, there's no reason why money is an issue and the business shuts down.
Okay.
And then I do damage my wife and kids. No, I mean, I never touch nobody. Okay, I wouldn't be on the board if I didn't think this was important. I give to these organizations.
right? And I understand that, I get that you love your family, that you love your kids. And that's part of what we consider as we consider the options going forward, are the implications for your family, the implications for your business, and not just the legal implications of what's happening. So I want you to know we do consider those things. Okay? When we go over the options, you'll see that all of the options will be laid out for you.
Okay.
And whether they're good options or bad options, there are a lot of options. Okay? Some more questions I have for you revolve a little bit about what happened 3 months ago. Do you know why Susan all of a sudden called you and asked? Or why all of a sudden, I guess the 3 months ago happened with the embezzlement. Is that right? Did anything else come out of that?
Why she was embezzling? No, I just assumed it was family. I just assumed that creep.
Okay.
Did you talk to her at all about it? Or did you just...
So devastated, and she was so clearly ashamed. She fessed up to it. I mean, why she stays with that guy is, again, from what she said, when I've heard around town, he's got an alcohol and drug problem, and Lord knows what else. And I'm just assuming she was doing it for the family. And had it been for her, she drives up in a big Cadillac someday. It's one thing, but she doesn't.
Sure. Another question about Susan. Did she threaten you with anything else besides these pictures?
No, just that she would go first to my wife, and then to the police, and then to the newspaper.
Following up on that, thinking about your relationship with Susan and how she's worked over for you for so many years, is there anything else that you can think of that might come out?
No, we run a super squeaky clean shop. I only do union. I don't do no scabs. Everything is run through the foreman. We don't tilt scales. One reason we've grown so fast is everybody knows they can trust us.
You mentioned a union. Have you had any run-ins with the union in
No,
the past?
we work well. You treat the union right, they treat you right. That's why this country, the union is the reason we have weekends.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So then let's talk about what happened a month ago. Susan called you up. How much money was that?
$10,000 the first time.
Okay, and she didn't send you any of the envelope or information that she had at that point.
She just said she knew, she had seen, and I freaked out enough to just went ahead and wired her to the P.O. box she'd given me.
Okay. Now, as you mentioned this, you mentioned some pictures, and you mentioned that they're kind of this artistic type picture. Do you remember the website that they were on?
Yeah, there's a couple big-time photographers that do this. They have books you can buy. One of them is a guy named David Hamilton. I'll name the site, but it's easy enough. The other one's D.A. Westfall. And they're portraits of these girls hang up in galleries. I mean, that's what it says on the site. It's such.
As you've gone to these sites, do these photographers also do pornographic pictures?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, they talk about how that appalls them that this is not pornography, and that this has been, at least in Europe, I mean, this is an old and honorable tradition, the beauty of young girl, innocent young girls kind of thing. And you can't really see much on the websites. I mean, they're smaller photos, and they're kind of grainy. I guess just to entice you to buy the books.
These collectors that you communicate with, are any of them local?
I don't know any of them. I mean, some of them got funny names. I think they're foreign, like from Belgium or something.
Okay. Do you have those names with you?
Not with me. I can, whatever's on the website. I mean, on my email, yeah.
Let me ask one more question about the pictures. Have you ever purchased one of the books, one of the published
No,
books?
I just, you know, I don't know. I guess because I got kids, I just think it's somewhere they would not understand. They're not old enough.
Okay. So my question was, you keep referring to these young ladies as young.
Mm-hmm.
What are their ages?
I'm not real good with that, but I don't know. They're pre-teen, pre-puberty, so 13, 12, 11, all that kind of vaguely Scandinavian or, European, I think.
And you were aware they were under a certain age there.
Never says, but that's part, I guess, the assumption of it.
Okay. Anything else about the website or pictures that you think of that you haven't mentioned yet?
Well, I did mention that I had made copies of some of my favorite ones and kept them in a kind of a hidden stash in my office.
Right,
So,
okay.
After the first contact from her, I went and moved those pictures to even better hidden spot. Just, I thought. And then, lo and behold, when I get this package from her, copies of some of those photos are in that package. So she's been in my office.
Okay. How did you make copies of those photos? Where did you get the first copy?
Press copy came off an internet swap with one of my email contacts.
Okay.
And a couple of them I like to pull out periodically. And when I went to move it again, it was gone. So she had taken it somehow between, I guess, right after, so the last 3 months. Sometimes she's been in my office.
So you're no longer in possession of these
No,
pictures at all?
no. There's still some emails on my computer and a few in a folder on the computer.
Now, you didn't purchase digital copies of any of these. These were all just from email swaps?
Mm-hmm.
You get
You mentioned that you've talked to your priest about this.
Mhm.
What brought you to your priest?
Just because I wasn't sleeping and I was agonizing on it. I went in and confessed that I had bad thoughts about killing Susan, her creepy husband, and that maybe this was wrong. And, the priest gave me a bunch of Hail Marys.
We want to let you know that it's important that you do your best to repel those thoughts to commit a crime, right? We don't, being violent is not going to help the situation. I don't know how seriously you've considered that.
Yeah, not really.
But in the packet that we will provide you later, there is a reference sheet of local counselors that also have a confidentiality policy.
Okay.
And we have found the counselors we've listed to be very effective. And if you feel like this is continuing to bother you in a way that interrupts your life, we really encourage you to pursue that.
That's probably what I should do.
Yeah, they're really great. We've had great success. A lot of our clients have told us that they're really great. Now, let's talk a little bit more. You keep referring to Susan's husband as her creepy husband. Can you tell us any more about him?
I only met him once. He didn't come to any of the office parties or anything, any of the picnics that we give or nothing. And just things she has said about, nothing specific to just that he's got an abuse problem. And I've heard around town that, just you hear stuff. Go out in the cafe in the morning and stuff, and you hear, and this is not somebody who's a whiner. She's a hard worker, and apparently she's doing the job for two. And it's easy to put two and two that he's drinking or doping away the money or something.
That brings me to a question that it's sensitive, but it will help us in sorting through this. Did you ever have a relationship
No.
with Susan?
No, never was.
Okay, that's good.
No. I've got a beautiful wife, Susan's not my type video.
Okay. Is there anything else that you think, like, once again, it's always important after we talk for a while, we find that sometimes people that come in, it jogs their memory of things that come up. Is anything else coming to your mind that you think you can share with us?
I just don't know what's important. I'm going to tell you everything that I help you. Tell me, what other areas you need information
Well,
in.
maybe something that will help us zero in on what we're doing here is, what are your goals? When you came here, what do you expect us to be able to do to help you?
Well, in a perfect world, somehow deal with this so that we neutralize this threat to my family and my life. I mean, I, in the past, had not wanted her to go to jail, but that's what it takes now to get her to, or at least a threat of it, to get her to stop this. And hell yeah, I mean, she has crossed the line. Whether it's her or her husband, the line has been crossed. And it only is going to get worse. Again, if it had just been the $50,000 and she'd been in a disastrous situation, she could have had it. It's not a money thing. I got money.
Okay. So from, just to make sure that I understand, you just want to, for lack of a better way to put it, you want to make it go away. You want it to be over with.
Right. Whatever it costs, whatever it takes, I want this to stop.
Okay. Is there anything else, any other goal that you have in coming?
Well, yeah, I'd like to make it stop without, my kids getting teased by other kids that your dad's looking at child porn. Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
That's part of the same goal, though.
Right, yeah, we had noticed from your email that part of that goal was to keep it private.
Yeah.
And we recognize that that's important.
And that's my goal.
Yeah, right. And sometimes, though, goals cannot be reconciled together. So sometimes it may need to come out. And as we go forward, it may come out that in order to neutralize the situation, as you put it, in order to make this kind of stop and not forever loom over you, it may be necessary to not have it be private. Okay, so that's a consideration that you have to make is am I willing to stop it right now and take the heat for a while and have it stop? Or are we gonna, or if there's no way to kind of resolve it privately? But we haven't come to that point yet, okay?
Yeah. No, that's, I mean, you guys get the big bucks. We're going to do that as our goal one. And if we have to go to let the wife and kids,
Right.
then we do, but it's got to stop.
Okay. Now one sensitive question I have for you again is, do you have any prior arrests, any prior record?
No, I got a lead foot sometimes.
Okay.
Not many. I do the driver's ed, get it wiped off.
Okay, but nothing, no serious convictions or anything like that?
Boring.
Okay.
Have you involved any other attorneys in this matter?
No, not even my the attorney we retained for the trucking business knows about this. He doesn't even know about the embezzlement. He just does all the paperwork that keeps us running in this current climate where you need 3 pieces of paperwork for every mile driven.
Now, with the $10,000, did that come from your personal account or the
Yep.
business account?
I had a personal account.
As we go forward, there's going to be some documents that we need to look at.
Mhm.
Okay. One thing that we want to look at is we want to look at all of the emails from those collectors
Okay.
to see what you said, see if there's anything illegal that could have gone on. I'll tell you right now, I'm going to be straight talking, okay? Swapping pictures that are for sale, that are copyrighted for free is most likely a crime.
I'll take that hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to put that out
Like
there.
recording music illegally. If you're doing it, pay the price. I'll pay that price.
Okay, so that is possibly a crime. It doesn't sound like that's as much. That's not the bigger issue. The bigger issue is making sure that this goes away and protecting your family. Now, I can also tell you that trying to threaten her with a lawsuit is also a crime. It's called extortion. So what she's doing to you is most likely a crime. And to try and force you or coerce you to do one thing for money. And you doing that back to her is not going to solve any problems at this point, okay? So don't do that. That will create more
I
problems
don't want to
possibly.
talk to
than
her. I don't want to
solve.
talk to her again. I want somebody professional to talk to her.
Okay. And along those lines, that's part of the benefit you get when you hire our firm, okay? We represent you in this matter. So you can actually, if it comes down to it, she doesn't need to go through you, she can go through us. And if anything happens, we need to negotiate some kind of a deal to make sure this goes away for good. Anything like that happens, it goes through us, okay? Because we're your representatives. Right.
Terry, another advantage to coming to a large firm like this is we have people at our firm that are experts in helping people maintain their reputation. They are public relations experts. And when you come to us, you don't just get Steve and I working for you. You get the whole firm. And anyone that we need to bring in, we recognize that $200 an hour is not cheap, but we make that money work as efficiently as possible. And so if things start to come up, and because we only have one side of this, we can do so much, but there are other parties involved. And if it comes down to it, I want you to know that we have the best people around to help you maintain your reputation. And we will use that to do everything we can to preserve you and your family.
Okay. Now, before we get into some of your options, is there anything else that's popped into your head that you feel like you need to bring up right now?
No.
I want to ask one more string of questions. It seems from what you said, your wife does not know about these pictures. How do you think that will play out if she finds out?
Well, it won't be pretty.
Okay.
We've had a good relationship. So, I'm just, we signed the agreement for good times and bad. I hope that she'll honor that as I would.
Okay.
I hope.
I mean, like we talked about with those counselors, that could be a very positive thing, if need be, to consider that as part of this whole process with your family.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the options you always have is to do nothing. Just sit on it, see if she'll follow through with the threat. You can do that. I'm not saying that's a good option. I'm not saying it's the best option, but it is an option. You have the option to pay her if you really want to, and see if that makes it go away. I'm not saying that's the best option or is the option you should take, but it is an option. Then we have the option of looking at what she's doing, and basically I think the best way for us to maybe go about it is to see if we can, I'm trying to think of a way to not involve the police that's going to ensure that it stops. Because one of your other options is to go to the police and have her arrested for embezzlement and extortion and collect evidence as to that, and then, that stops it.
So, go ahead and get it at the end if she wants to plea bargain, some kind of safety for me, be willing to, drop charges or something? You mean like go ahead and get it started as a hammer?
So what happens is if we start criminal proceedings, it's not really in our hands. If we go to the cops and tell them what happens, it's up to them as they go. Like I said, it's not out of the realm of possibilities to try and bring her in and negotiate a contract and say, okay, look, we negotiate a non-disclosure agreement, you don't talk about this for this amount of money, we can put in things in the provision like you pay her a certain amount of money per month, stuff like that. The problem is, though, if something happens and say they view this as a crime looking at these underage photos, say something comes up and we don't know that is a crime, that contract is not legally binding. So then she can still testify about that. If she goes and tells the press, yeah, you can sue her for damages from the breach of contract, but really,
It makes me a little more guilty.
right. So I mean, it's a tough option to try and do this privately. I'm not saying let's go talk to the police right now. What I think maybe our best course of action to do is, one, we get all these documents that we've kind of talked about, the emails, get some of the investment documents, see what happened there, see how liable she really is. She admitted that. Look at some of the other correspondence that you have between her and see where we sit and see where the law sits, and then make some decisions going forward at that point, okay?
That makes sense.
And Terry, the reason we lay all these options out for you is because we want you to be involved in deciding what to do. We represent you, which means we represent your interests. As we move forward, we'll continue to give the best legal advice we can. But that's why we're not just saying, all right, this is your problem, we're going to do this. Because you also have to weigh the costs and the benefits of these different options. But when we give those options, we don't want you to think that what we're doing is still putting it back on you. We just want to involve you in what's going on. Now, it's going to be important to consider the nature of these pictures in all this as well. Okay, and so that's one thing that we don't know about yet, because we haven't seen the pictures.
Okay.
And typically in child pornography type situations, it's pretty explicit, and it's
This is not
pretty
that.
clear.
This is not that.
Okay. I understand that these are professional photographers that are taking these pictures, but there's also a reality that you've mentioned a lot of them are foreign, and we're in the United States.
That's right.
And that's something we've got to consider.
Yeah.
Okay. We can't emphasize enough that it's important you stop dealing with these pictures and dealing with these collectors. That's got to stop now. Do you have any difficulty with that?
No difficulty with nothing now.
So that's the first thing that we would do for you as we go forward, is we got to look and see how the U.S., if they've treated these type of pictures that are more artistic based, and see if they view them as pornography in the United States. So we look at that and see where you are. Because if they are listed as pornography, it's going to bring in a whole new wrinkle, right?
Yeah.
Because then even going to the cops is going to create it's just going to be a lot more complex. And so we need to know where we stand before we get into all these hypotheticals about what about this, what happens if this happens. We want to know for sure. We want to give you straight answers instead of speculation, okay? So that's the first thing that we need to do. The next thing we need to do is get all those documents from you. We need to pour over them. And we're going to see where the law comes out as far as those documents go. See where Susan says, it sounds like she's admitted to embezzling, but we just got to make sure that that case we feel like that would be a sound case to give over to the attorney if we need to.
The county didn't want me to just let her go, wanted me to go forward with the police, but I didn't do it.
Another quick question that just came to mind, sorry to interrupt you, Steve, but has Susan said anything about an attorney? Has she said that she's talked to an attorney? No. Okay.
So those are kind of our first steps, okay?
Okay.
Basically, when I told you we talked a little bit about our retainer at the end, and now's the time to talk about it. For a case like this, we're looking at a retainer of about $10,000. Okay, that's at $200 an hour per attorney. And like James said, that money goes to the best person for whatever we need done. So we are the criminal guys, so we handle anything that has to do with breaking the law, anything that has to do with that. If it comes down that we need to do some PR and some damage control for your company, we need to create a plan for that. It'll go to the people that are experts in that. Okay. But the way a retainer works is you pay us $10,000 and basically we put it into a trust account. As we work for you, we draw on that account and then we give you an accounting of why we drew on it, what we did for you. Okay. As we start to approach the depletion of that account, when you have about $2,000 less, we reevaluate. We will tell you where we're at, how much more we think it's going to cost, and then we go from there, okay? Basically what we want to do with this is we want to give this to you and allow you to think about it.
That's a good idea.
Okay? Did Susan give you a deadline?
No, it just was the fact that I hadn't responded to her packet in whatever ways you imagined I respond a few days later. I'm assuming that there's a sense of urgency by the fact she came in 3 days later with that.
I mean, part of the mental state to consider with people that are blackmailing is, right, as soon as you admit what happens, as soon as that comes out, she's lost all power against you, right?
Right.
So that's something to consider when you think about what to do. And we gave you your options.
Yeah.
The late American, you can do nothing, you could pay her, neither of which we think is the best option. Right now, we think we should not act rashly, but we should evaluate our options, because the third one is to go to the police and tell them what's going on and just try and clear everything up once and for all with her and with you. Okay, so think about that. Think about what we've talked about today, the retainer. I know it's Saturday. You're a businessman, and you mentioned weekends. You have a family. Would it be okay if I follow up with you tomorrow as you think about it?
Yeah, let's get this going.
Okay.
I got to sleep.
Okay, right. And like we said, here's the packet of information. We know a lot about you. Now you can know about us.
All right.
Look at the counseling stuff in there.
Okay.
There's personal counsels. There's family counselors.
Great.
and those are a good resource for you. I'll follow up with you tomorrow. James and I, that retainer is the contract between all of us. We'll talk about how we feel about the case. You think about it, we'll call you tomorrow, we'll decide what to do, okay? That's great.
Gary, one thing we've seen in the past is that lots of times people walk out of this office, and before they even hit the door, they've got things coming to their mind that they wish they would have said, things that they think are important. We encourage you to contact us. We've provided you with our contact information so that you can do just that. Okay, don't hesitate to contact us. And if you decide to move forward with us, we want you to know that we are the people that can help you the best. All right, and we want to do that. Do you have any questions for us?
Not the moment.
Okay.
You're right, they'll come flooding in.
Okay. Yeah, we appreciate you coming out Saturday.
Thank you. Not something I feel like, it's pride. Everyone can do it.
We've got about 7 minutes before our next point. You know, extortion's hard because it's not just about money, right? There's emotion involved, and there's nothing wrong with her wanting to go to the police. There's nothing wrong with her asking for money. But when she does those two things together and threatens him, that's when it's extortion. It's a crime.
Right. I mean, as you think about this, as I started giving him his options, you saw that. I mean, you think about the implications of everything, and it gets so complex that we can't. It's just too premature to move forward in one way or the other with both feet, with jumping in head first, because there are so many implications for his family, for his business, for the community, like you mentioned, everybody involved in this kind of a smaller community here, and everybody involved, and all the people that work in this corporation. And so, I mean, quite honestly, I have no idea, looking at artistically taking photos that aren't, sexually explicit to some people. If they're child pornography, my inclination to say that in the United States they probably are.
That's my
considered
inclination as well.
pornography, child pornography.
I think that one of the most important things we can do right up front is talk to our pediatric specialist and say, does this look like something that can be controlled? Does this look like damage control that's realistic, or is this something that, if it comes out, he's ruined? Because, again, like we said, we're not the experts at that, but that is crucial for us to know as we move forward with him.
Right. I mean,
because that is whether or not his goal is realistic. We have to ask him once.
right. I think just looking at this from a professional standpoint, if we think we can help him and we can do a good job, and which I think we can, obviously,
Right.
but if we can get him at least the result that he can live with, it's huge.
Yeah.
To have Ferguson Trucking come to us, right?
Absolutely.
That's a great case to have and to help.
Absolutely.
And professionally, it'll be great if we can get the job done for him.
Well, and obviously he's not going to have any concern paying the bills for us, but what that means, it's not about the money for us, it is resources. We have it seems like there won't be any limit to what we can do for Terry because we have the resources and he can afford them, and so it feels like we won't have to pull back. We'll do everything we can.
Right, so I mean, professionally, I feel good about it. And personally, I don't agree exactly, obviously, personally, on a personal level with his view of these photos.
Sure.
But personally, I think he's at least, up to us, he seemed like an upfront guy.
Right.
That he would be upfront. I got the sense that there was something he wasn't telling us, and we didn't hit it right on the nose with the question, and so he didn't spill his guts to us, but...
Well, I think that what we can do with that, because in the past we've seen that our gut feeling means something, right? And so I think that he's going to sign the retainer. And when that happens, we can say, okay, Terry, we got to know if there's anything you left out, no matter what it is. And if he doesn't sign the retainer, then you follow up with him and says, I don't know, have that conversation and say, is there something else that's on your mind? Is there something you're worried about? And that few minutes in a phone call might make the difference and find out some key piece of information.
I mean, he said he didn't buy anything from these sites or anything like that. I just think there may be something out there that he knows some of the girls, or he knows some of the photographers. He knows something more about the business than I think we got.
Right.
That's possibly true or not true, but I think that's just a gut feeling I have.
All right, anything else?
No, I feel like we have a good handle on it, and like you said, I think when he calls back, I think I'd really like to see if we can get this done, get him in.
Let me know how it goes.
Okay, the way we're going to do this is the judges are going to give you very, very brief comments. We know that what you really want to know is who won, and quite frankly, they're anxious to go as well for all sorts of reasons. So they're going to keep their comments very brief. When they are finished, then in fact, I will announce who it is that plays first, who plays second, who plays third, so that then you all can celebrate, high five, curse under your breaths, whatever it is that you want to do. Let me introduce to you the final round judges. Starting to your right is Dr. Hal Ritter. Dr. Ritter is a pastoral counselor and does a lot of work with Scott Moore.
Scott Knight, right, which is a medical research hospital here in our area.
And in the middle is Judge Rex Davis. Judge Davis is on the 10th Court of Appeals here in Texas, which actually sits in Waco. In addition, he has practiced for a number of years before being on the bench, and then left the bench, went back on the bench, and teaches our client counseling course here at Baylor. So he is well qualified to judge you. And then finally, we have Rebecca Griffin. Rebecca is a local attorney, so that at least we get the female perspective as well as that of the two judges. So I will turn it over to them and let you all give your brief comments, and then, as I said, I will announce who it is that plays first, second, and third.
I will say I feel very outnumbered with women. On team, I'm just going to go in the order that y'all went in. Team I. I thought Mr. Allende, is that how you pronounce it? Okay. You were very strong. Mr. Hill, you weren't as, I would have liked to have seen you push forward a little more. You kind of seemed like you were along for the ride. And you were asking questions that I know made sense in your head. You were tracking things down, but you never tied them back to the client. So and sometimes you were asking a question, I was thinking, why is he asking that? And then I think about, oh, it's this element over here. But if I'd been the client, I would have been going, why is that any of your business? However, y'all did look at, looking at CPS. You did ask a question about the affair. You did look into some other things that were kind of on the table, that you did kind of look a little bit beyond the surface to him, so I thought that was a good job. Do we do each team or? Okay. Team L, I thought you were very aggressive and you were very upfront, and you did kind of have we're the big firm and we're the top guys in town, and we're gonna push through this. So you were very aggressive. I think you were a little too aggressive at the beginning. You said we'll discuss some things, but you kind of talked at him. And then at the ending, it was a hard sell on retain us right now in 20 minutes. That I think was a little overly aggressive, and you also didn't hit on the affair. You were the only team that didn't ask if there's a possibility of an affair here, and he gave you a lot of those red flags. That he would give her the money if she just asked for it. They worked a lot of hours together. She was into everything he was into. Those are red flags to look at, and you never asked that question. That was kind of just laying out there on the table for you. And then TV, I was very impressed with y'all. You worked together very well. You looked at the holistic approaches very well. And you did deal with the issue of he could get prosecuted criminally for this. So it's not just a matter of what she did wrong, but it's a matter of what's going to maybe happen to him. And you also hit on the affair, so I thought that was impressive. The one thing that, and you were also the only ones to talk about the fact that there's a copyright issue. That's, again, some of the rest of you danced around that, but they were the only ones to hit it. None of you hit on some of the psychological aspects. You mentioned the counseling, which but stash is a loaded word, and that's a drug word, and that's an addiction word. And that's the word that was in the pattern, but y'all didn't know that, and no one kind of followed up on there were behavioral red flags that I think you were maybe afraid to go there on an initial consultation, but the words like stash, things like that, and you kind of shied away from it, like maybe we don't want to go there, but there were some things that were just lying on the table. But I thought you all did a good job. You were well prepared and you worked together well. So overall, good job.
Okay. I am a pastoral counselor. I'm not an attorney. My specialty is marriage and family therapy. And I tend to listen to this kind of stuff with that perspective rather than just the legal nuances of it all. So I'm aware that y'all really want to know what the final scores were. Okay? So you're just going to have to delay gratification here for a moment. Team I guess, was the first team. One of the really good questions that y'all asked was, well, do you have any of these pictures on your wall at home? And one of the things that I do, I teach medical doctors. I'm on the faculty of the medical school at Texas A&M University. And I teach medical doctors in residency at the Scott and White Hospital where I work. And one of my areas is also ethics. And we talk about in ethics the two ethical tests. One is the living room test, and the other one is the newspaper test. And the living room test is, would you do or say this in the living room of your own home if you had some family members there just as a silent observer? You know, so it wasn't really an affair. I didn't actually touch her, but would you have engaged in this behavior with your spouse or your mother just sitting there watching? So that's the living room test. Actually, y'all did the living room test with the picture thing. The other is the newspaper. You know, you don't do or say anything that you're not willing to be in the newspaper tomorrow, because that's where it's going to be. And so when you're doing ethical questioning, those are the things to kind of look at. And anyway, you did well in asking that question. Team L, you had good eye contact. This is my counselor part. You had good eye contact with them all through it, but it was a little bit pushy. It almost seemed too programmed, or almost like a script that you were working from. And probably some of that is true, some scripting, but put a little more facial expression and smile a little bit, you know, get a little human connection. And then Team E did a very good job of, okay, what do you want? Finding out exactly what what he wanted to do. And a good discussion at the end, kind of a ethics and kind of a gut feeling about what's going on here. You know, trust your intuition. I mean, if something's kind of not clear, you know, don't just walk past that, but kind of pay attention to that. And so those kind of gut feelings are important things to acknowledge. Good job, thanks.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, practiced, as the professor said, for a number of years, 27 years actually, and then I've been on the bench collectively 8.5 years. So I bring all that, I hope, to the table. Let me say, first of all, it's just a personal bias of mine. The grid sheets that we use, I'm sure people much stronger than I use the effectiveness grid. Al told me a while ago what it was, what you call it. I'm not a big fan of the effectiveness grid. I would rather score it in points, but of course I'm swimming upstream. So when I measure the effectiveness grid, and you look at those sheets, I'm measuring it relative to each other, okay? So if you don't like some of my effectiveness judging, then let me say it to you this way. I scored you, all three teams, within 6 points total of each other in my personal notes, okay? That means that from the top team to the third place team, there's a difference of 6 points. And between my first first team and my second team, there's a difference of 4 points and 2 points between the second and third. So you take my sheets and you give them to your judges and they go, that basket case from the 10th Court of Appeals, please temper that because I'm measured you on the effectiveness scale against each other, relative speaking. All right. Team 1, my overall concern for you is it is a team tournament. It is a team concept. Mr. Hill, you need to be more assertive. You need to blend in better with Mr. Allende. I'm not saying Mr. Allende should really back up from anything, but he tends to dominate you in the team concept, and I don't know except more, I don't know how many more competitions you guys get to be down the way, but you need to balance each other better. The other 2 teams do a much better job of balancing each other. Content was outstanding. Dr. Ritter was talking to you about several things a while ago that you picked up on that the other teams didn't necessarily grab, and that's very important. But I really think the overall idea of the team concept works against you guys as far as the overall competition. The other comment I have about it, it is the type of fact situation where you've got to probe. You've got to take weaknesses in the position of your prospective client as well as strengths of how you can present it, but you've got this horrible private-public problem to deal with on several different levels. And you've got to probe with him to get as close as you can to what the actual facts are, what is the truth from his perspective. Everybody suspected various things. Everybody suspected they didn't have all of the information. And you might learn more between the first and second client conference, no doubt, and hopefully you will, about this prospective client. But the fact of the matter is, you guys have got to probe deeper. I mean, that's this kind of fact situation. Something else, some other fact situation, it might have worked well for you, but this fact situation would have caused you to have to go deeper. Otherwise, I certainly, as I said, I enjoyed all 3 teams. Team L, I really liked the way you approached it for the most part, except as Dr. Ritter says, sometimes substantively hammered him too hard. And I'll tell you what, wrapping him up on the fee agreement at the end, you ran the risk of running him out of the office by trying to sign him up in 20 minutes. I don't think that really certainly was your intention. That was a concern I had, though, that this man needs to have, he's one of these prospective clients that within limitations, and since it's just going to be a few days before he's got to write a $50,000 check or wire the money, the fact of the matter is you need to give him at least a 24-hour reflection. And you basically left him that room after the fact. But it kind of summarized that you almost were the other way in that you probed so deeply. Once you got the information you needed, I think you needed to move on and do some other development with him. And that was a concern I had for you overall. Again, a good job overall. I mean, you guys wouldn't have all gotten here unless you were good. So there's nothing about it that it's not, it's probably just things you could probably do better. Team E, I thought your mix was good. I don't have any real negatives for you. I think that that's an interesting way to start. Actually, I thought it was rather creative. And what I thought was, in your case, if you look at the standard sheet that you're given to do the competition, you, in my opinion, respectfully, came nearer meeting all the standards that were expected of you in this competition. So you were taking a fact situation, you're taking pretty much real life situation. I told the professor before we started, I really liked the issue you had to deal with today, the overall issue. It's a squirmer. It really makes you have to deal with it, and that's good. This level of competition, it ought to. But respectfully, you guys did the best job, in my view, of meeting what the standards of the competition said for you to do. Let me give you something that wasn't there, and I appreciated it. At least 2 of the teams, and maybe all 3 of you. I might have missed it with the 3rd team. But I felt a conflict of interest point should be in this thing. And it's not. It's not in the 10 items. And no offense to whoever authored it, don't want to call me on the telephone. But the fact of the matter is, conflict of interest is extremely important. You guys picked up on it, but that's just one of those that's important, but for whatever reason, and I respect the authorship of whoever put it together, it's not there. So you guys, by contrast, met more of the overall posture of the 10 items perspective than the other two teams. And that's also a reflection, to some extent, in my effectiveness grid. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you.
You know, if you're going to be in practice, you have to get comfortable talking about money. And, you know, you always have to be able to discuss it with people without feeling like, boy, just hope to take what I'm saying and leave it alone. Money is power, and the one who has the money has the power. And so when a businessman has some money and he's giving you money to help represent him, he is giving you part of his power. And it's true in families. The one who has the money has the power. You know, rich people in our culture, they have access to levels of people in government that some of the rest of us don't have. And so you need to get comfortable with talking about your fees and talking about how much, you know, you're going to have up front and all that kind of stuff, because that's just part of working in a capitalistic culture, is an exchange of value for services. I'm done. That's my ethics.
All right. Well, I suppose you all are ready to hear the final results. All right. Well, once again, the level of competition has been very high, and y'all are to be congratulated for having made it to this point in the competition. As you know, the winner of the competition will have the opportunity to go to the international competition. That competition is in Hong Kong. So that once I announce who the winner is, I need the team to see me, because I need to give you a telephone number that you need to call up as well. Okay? All right. So without further ado, let me first start by announcing the third place team. The third place team is Team L, Thomas Cooley Law School. The second place team is Team I, the University of District of Columbia, which then means, I think they know who they are, the first place team, representing Team USA, Team E, the University of Illinois. Congratulations.